Yeah, so Floyd said he's greater than Muhammad Ali, and the comparison is interesting because obviously they're different weights, but they both talked a lot. They both were very slick fighters, athletic, defensive, all that. I think that Floyd Mayweather, from just a strictly boxing perspective, is the better fighter than Muhammad Ali and should be ranked higher than him. I know it's hard to rank a welterweight with a heavyweight. I get all that. But I think that from a skill set standpoint, Floyd is better than Ali. And I think from a dedication standpoint, Mayweather is greater than Ali. Ali, he came into the Norton fight. He was out of shape, lost. He came into the Jimmy Young fight out of shape, got the decision, but a lot of people thought he really lost. And came into the fight with Leon Spinks, the first one, which was a cherry pick because the guy only had 7 fights, way overweight, lost. And he didn't have the dedication that Mayweather had. Mayweather always showed up to every single fight and treated it like it mattered. Now, I think what bothers Floyd is that he's never going to be as revered as a man as Muhammad Ali. And that, is just something he's going to have to live with. Muhammad Ali, he meant so much more than boxing. He meant, so much for humanity. And he represents so much. And when Ali fought, boxing was bigger. And he was not only the biggest boxer in the world, he was the biggest athlete in the world. And he's probably the most iconic athlete of all time. So that's just something that no one's going to be able to pass Ali in that kind of stuff, because today's circumstances are different than the circumstances back then in the 60s. What Ali meant to the American public, what Ali meant to the black, the African American public, what Ali meant to the world at large. He had a lot of things going for him. Muhammad Ali, though, one thing which I think you have to give him over Floyd is his opposition, though. I mean, the dude, you look at his opposition, he fought the toughest opposition. Him and Oscar De La Hoya, I mean, in the last 60 years, fought the toughest opposition. Those two really stand alone on that. He definitely fought the toughest opposition of anyone who's a heavyweight. So, yeah, I mean, Ali, that's one area you got to give him that. He fought guys 3-4 times, Frazier 3 times, Norton 3 times, who's a guy who he had trouble with. Foreman, prime Larry Holmes, Liston twice, and so many contenders where maybe now people don't know them as well, but back then they were ranked in the top 3, top 5. Ton of guys like that, like Chavallo, Jimmy Ellis, Ernie Terrell, Cleveland Williams, Floyd Patterson, even though he was older back then. Chuck Wepner, well, obviously they made the Rocky movie about. Ernie Shavers, Jimmy Young, Ron Lyle, the list goes on and on. Just tons of guys. You go through box record, like, whoa. And I think Ring Magazine did something where they had like fights versus top 10 fighters in their rankings at the time. And I think like Ali had like 36 out of 61. That's crazy, because so many guys in boxing today, and even back then, they had so many build-up fights. So that means more than half of his fights were versus top 10 opposition. That's incredible. I think that Ali was great and arguably the greatest heavyweight of all time. So major credit to him. But I think Floyd Mayweather is, just a little bit above. But I want to say this. A lot of people say Floyd Mayweather is very disrespectful of Muhammad Ali. And what's interesting about that is Muhammad Ali did the same thing when he was going up against Joe Louis. He would always say Joe Louis fought a bunch of bums, bum of the month tour. He was stiff. He didn't have footwork. And in my opinion, Muhammad Ali was more disrespectful towards Joe Louis than Floyd Mayweather was towards Muhammad Ali. So it's just funny how history repeats itself, but nobody wants to talk about that. And another thing is this. A lot of people say, oh, Floyd this, that, he's a bad role model, whatever. And I don't love the showing off money thing. I think that's a little bit, silly at this point in his life. It's like, okay, we get it. You're 50. Like, at what point do you stop showing off your money? But Muhammad Ali, during that fight with Joe Frazier during the press conference, he crossed the line in ways that Floyd Mayweather's never crossed, calling him an Uncle Tom, calling Joe Frazier a gorilla, all these things, saying that Joe Frazier wasn't for the black man. And it got to the point where Joe Frazier, his kids would go to school and they would be coming home crying because they'd be like, everyone's making fun of me saying my daddy's going to get beat up by Muhammad Ali. My daddy's a gorilla. That's real life stuff. That's not cool anymore. That's not, oh, I'm going to beat you in a boxing match. And I don't remember Floyd Mayweather ever going to that place. I think he always kind of kept it within the fighters. I don't remember him ever really going that personal. I know he said some stuff about Shane Mosley and his divorce and that kind of thing, but that's really it. He never really like went the route of like racial and that kind of thing. So I'm just not I'm just not into all that, and I think people are a little bit hypocritical with that. And someone, I think it was Howard Stern, he had Joe Frazier on the show. He had a great point. He said, when a white person calls a black person a gorilla, they're the biggest racist, and it is racist. Don't get me wrong, I agree. When a black person calls another black person a gorilla, it's okay. How is that? And he calls Joe Frazier being Uncle Tom. When you fought Joe Frazier and called him a gorilla, and you're putting another black man down, aren't you an Uncle Tom? Aren't you a coon? Aren't you all these things by doing all that? So that's just my thing. Be consistent with all that. But that's a separate note and all that. I just think the Floyd Mayweather Muhammad Ali comparisons are interesting. Please let me know what you think. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe.